Welcome to Comprehensive English Notes. In this video, I am talking about Looking for a Rain God, a story written by South African novelist Bessie Head, who was born in 1937 and died in 1986. Bessie Head was a South African novelist who left her country to escape apartheid, a system of discrimination based on the color of skin. She lived in Botswana, another African country, and kept writing books until her death. Looking for a Rain God is taken from a collection of treasury and other Botswana village tales, which was published in 1977. And this story is based on a shocking local newspaper report. This story dramatizes the enduring power of ancient tribal ritual and shows conflict with contemporary codes of behavior in African life. There are some important characters in this story. Mogobja, who is 78 years old, is the chief of the family and he is a believer in tribal rituals. Ramadi is Mogobja's son. He is a plover and he is middle-aged person. He is the bread earner of the family. Tyro is Ramadi's wife and she is a dutiful housewife. Nesta is Tyro's unmarried sister who lives in her sister's family. Neo and Boseyong are two young daughters of Ramadi and Tyro. The story starts with the description of the forest, which is nearby the village. The villagers go to the forest for harvesting the land. There is a clearing in the village, in the jungle, and the jungle, the land in the jungle, the villagers cultivate, and everything is okay at the beginning of the story. Villagers are very happy. Whenever they feel hot in the village, they go to the jungle to enjoy the shade of the jungle, shade of the trees. And there is also a lot of water, which is easily available. And they drink water and they use the water for irrigation of the land. But in 1958, suddenly a 7-year-long drought starts, and the air becomes scorchingly hot, and everything becomes dry and dusty. And villagers have to live off the crops for a long time. So men, especially men, become very much desperate and they slowly, quietly go out of their house and hang themselves. The villagers need some kind of magic. So they fall prey to incanters, charlatans, and the witch doctors who dishonestly cheat on the villagers and make a lot of money dishonestly. At the beginning of the seventh year, in the month of November, there is a sparse rain, and villagers who have already been desperate and we have already lost hope, they become hopeful once more. And they rush to the clearing to cultivate the land. The family of Mogobja is one of them. They clear the thorny bush, they plow the land and become ready for crops. But by the midst of November, there is no clouds, okay? There is no cloud in the sky and there is no rain again. The family becomes unhappy and worried. But the two young girls, Neo and Boseyong, they are always busy in their childish play. They pretend themselves to be their mothers and they scold at their rag dolls like their mothers are scolding at them. The family have already sold their animals for food and they do not have any more to eat. And the two female characters, Tyro and Nesta, are especially worried about the starvation they are going to face next year. So they suddenly feel nervous breakdown. They suffer from nervous breakdown and they start screaming every night. At first, the two male characters, Ramadi and Mogobja, they do not lose their composure. But when Tyro and Nesta repeat their screaming every night, they slowly and gradually they also lose their composure and they also start becoming nervous. Then one night, Mogobja suddenly remembers about a tribal ritual. When he was very young, he saw the children being sacrificed to appease the rain god. So he remembers this tribal ritual and he talks to his son Ramadi. Ramadi is convinced with his father and they convince Tyro and Nesta. So one day they perform the tribal ritual and they sacrifice the two little innocent girls to appease, to make the rain god happy. But despite their sacrifice, there is no rain. The god does not become happy and there is no rain. They wait in the clearings for some more days in the hope that the rain will come. But when there is no rain, they become desperate and they return to the village. The villagers immediately realize uh, they realize the absence of the two goals and they become doubtful and they start asking to the family, Mogobja, Ramadi, and Tyro and Nesta. And they tell the villagers that the two girls died. But the villagers raise a question. How could they die together? How could the two girls die at the same time? Why not one after the another? And finally, the daughter's mother, the two young girls' mother, Tyro, she breaks and she accepts the guilt. Then the villagers call the police. The police starts investigation, and finally, the family is found to be guilty of the children's of the two young girls' death, and they are given the Mogobja, especially Mogobja and Ramadi, are given death punishment. This story has especially three themes we can find. The first one is man's survival against the forces of nature. The villagers, they have to be fighting, they have to struggle with the natural forces, that is drought. Suddenly the drought comes to the village and they have to face that harsh situation. They have to live off the crops and they have to try a lot to survive against that force. Second theme is hope and desperation. The characters of this story, they go through a desperate situation when there is a 7 year long drought in the village. They do not have anything to eat. They first of all sell their animals to have money for buying food. But even after the animals are finished, then they feel desperate. And when in the seventh year there is a sparse rain, they become hopeful again that there will be rain. But when after two weeks the rain goes away, the clouds up from the sky go away, then they again become desperate. So hope and desperation are the two sides of life. It is shown in the story. Similarly, there is also a conflict between the tribal rituals and modern law. At first, the villagers, they were very happy with their tribal rituals, and sacrifice was normal in their culture. And sacrificing young girls, sacrificing children was performed to make the rain god happy. And they always believed that by sacrificing the young children, they could make the rain god happy and the god would send rain to their village. But when Christianity was introduced in the village, the Christianity came in the form of Western culture, Western civilization, and because of that, modern laws were imposed upon the villagers, and their tribal ritual was taken as a crime. Okay, so there was a conflict between these two. tribal rituals, and modern law. It is significant that the events in this story actually occurred over a period of 7 years because it takes time for anyone like Mokobja and his son Ramabi to lose their mind so that they can take the life of their own innocent children. One is not ready to sacrifice one's children to God unless one has lost all hopes and efforts. Over the period of 7 years, the villagers slowly lost their all hopes of rain and crops. The soil turned into dust and the plants withered. There was no water enough to drink and no animals to shell and buy food. Mogobza family is a representative of the situation. Finally, they started to be afraid of starvation of the coming year before they were ready to decide for the murder. When the options and talisman brought as offerings for the gods in exchange of rainfall, some of the men in the village hanged themselves. It is significant because they who hanged themselves seem to have lost their hopes completely. It shows the level of desperation and despair that has befallen everyone in the village. When one has tolerated a situation to an optimum level and has no option left, then only one can decide to commit suicide. It means the villagers also did not have any option left. The village has suffered from a 7 year long drought, and majority of the people have lived off their crops. They do not have anything to eat. They have even sold their animals for money to buy food. In this situation, they naturally become nervous about starvation they are going to face the coming year. Therefore, we can guess that the men who hanged themselves might have offered themselves to the god in exchange for the rain to their families. The starvation is predicted for the coming year because Mokgobja's family has already sold out the animals in exchange of food. Now there is no animal left at home. On the other hand, the family has not been able to grow any crops due to the continuous drought that hit the village. It was impossible to plant the corn, maize, pumpkin, and watermelon seeds in the dry earth. They even lost their ability to think properly. I don't think the ritual sacrifice is similar to putting faith in charlatans, sorcerers, and witch doctors. The ritual sacrifice is linked with the ancient tribal culture. The ancient people believed that with the sacrifice of children's bodies, the rain god would be happy and send the rain. In the course of time, this ritual has been replaced by the Christian thoughts and practices. As a result, the people have forgotten it. On the other hand, putting faith in charlatans, sorcerers, and witch doctors is the way out for people in the time of crisis. It is a faith upon the power of humans, whereas the former practice is a way to have faith upon the power of God. The story involves a conflict between the two value systems of latent tribal beliefs and a superficial adherence to Christian religious practices. The villagers' ancestors used to perform the ritual sacrifice for appeasing the rain god. They did not hesitate to even kill their children for making the god happy. They did not see the practice as a crime. However, the Christian practices replaced this culture and defined this practice as a punishable crime. Gradually, the native people forgot their rituals and cultural observations, but it was not totally gone from their psyche. They just dared not to do so because of their fear of being prosecuted by the law of the country. There are some rhetorics. While talking about rhetorics or writing style, there are some devices used in this story. The first one is imagery. In paragraph 1, we can find the lines shady watering places full of lost tangled trees with delicate pale gold and purple wildflowers springing up between soft green moss. Okay, these lines talk about imagery. Similarly, as dismal as the dry open thorn bush country, the leaves of the trees curled up and withered, the moss became dry and hard, and under the shade of the tangled trees, the ground turned a powdery black and white. This is also in paragraph number 1, and these two present imagery used in the story. Similarly, the story has also used foreshadowing. It is also in paragraph 1. A number of men just went out of their homes and hung themselves to death from trees. So, this line gives us, the readers, the hint about what is going to happen next. And this technique is called foreshadowing. Only the charlatans, incanters, and witch doctor made a pile of money during this time because people were always turning to them in desperation for little talisman and hops to rub on the plow for the crops to grow and the rain to fall. So this is a hint at hope people place on supernatural beliefs to solve problems. Similarly, personification is another device this story has used. The rain clouds fled away and left the sky bare. The sun danced dizzily in the sky with a strange cruelty. The sun sucked up the last drop of moisture out of earth. This is in paragraph 4. Personification is the action of giving human quality to non-human beings or matter. So this device has also been used. This literary device has also been used in this story. Similarly, in this story, we can also find simile. In paragraph 1, as dismal as the dry open thorn bush. This phrase is a simile. Simile is the comparison of two incomparable things using like or as. Similarly, we can also find symbolism in this story. Symbolism means the children Neo and Boseong are used in the form of symbol here, and they are the symbol of new life. The children have been presented here in the form of new life. Similarly, we can also find irony in this story. Some examples are Mogobja and Ramadi kill the children for their survival actually. However, they die for the same cause because after killing the children, the police come to the village and investigate, and when they are found guilty, they are given death sentence. The girls who are killed represent the future generation, which is sacrificed for the rain, the present need. Okay, people do not think about future, it means. And people kill their future for their present. And there is another irony. The sun is the source of life, but it becomes the source of death in the story. Generally, the sun is the source of energy, the sun is the source of light, source of heat, and light and heat uh, make the life prosperous on earth. But in this story, the sun has become the source of death. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope you will subscribe my channel and press the like button. Please also don't forget to press the bell button so that you will get information about all my videos. Thank you for watching this video. Bye bye. See you in next video.